Hey Sarah, I heard you had quite an adventure last week. Are you feeling better now?
Much better, thanks. But it was scary. I had to go to the emergency room at midnight with severe stomach pain.
Oh no. How did you even explain your symptoms? Medical terms can be so difficult.
I know. At first, I just kept saying my stomach hurts. But the nurse needed more specific information.
What kind of questions did they ask?
They asked about the pain scale. You know, from 1 to 10, how bad is the pain? I said 8 because it was really severe.
That's a useful system. What else did they need to know?
They asked if the pain was sharp, dull, or cramping. I learned that sharp means like a knife, dull is a constant ache, and cramping comes and goes.
Those are important distinctions. Did they ask about other symptoms too?
Yes, they asked if I had nausea, vomiting, fever, or diarrhea. I had to look up some of these words on my phone while I was there.
That must have been stressful. Did they do any tests?
They did blood work and an ultrasound. The doctor explained everything clearly, but I had to ask him to speak slowly.
That's a good strategy. What was the diagnosis?
Food poisoning. They gave me medication and told me to stay hydrated. The phrase they used was drink plenty of fluids.
I'm glad it wasn't anything more serious. Speaking of emergencies, remember when I lost my wallet in London?
Oh right, that was during your business trip. What happened exactly?
I think someone pickpocketed me on the tube. One moment I had my wallet, the next it was gone.
That's terrible. Did you report it to the police?
I did, but first I had to find a police station. I asked a local where the nearest police station is, and thankfully they spoke English.
What was the process like at the police station?
They asked me to file a report. I had to describe what happened, when and where it occurred, and list everything that was in my wallet.
Did you remember everything that was in it?
Mostly. Credit cards, driver's license, about £50 in cash. They gave me a crime reference number for insurance purposes.
That's important. Did you have to cancel your cards right away?
Yes, immediately. I called the bank's emergency hotline. The phrase I used was I need to report a stolen credit card.
Good thinking. How did you manage without any money or cards?
Luckily, I had my phone with digital payment apps. But I also had to go to the bank to get emergency cash.
That reminds me of when I had to open a bank account here. The terminology was so confusing at first.
Oh, I remember that struggle. What was the most confusing part?
They kept asking if I wanted a checking or savings account. I didn't know checking account meant current account.
Right, the terminology is different in each country. What documents did you need?
Proof of address was the tricky one. They wanted a utility bill or rental agreement. I had to ask my landlord for a letter.
And they always need proof of identity too, right?
Yes, passport and visa. They also asked about my employment status and income. I learned to say I'm employed full-time.
Did they explain all the fees clearly?
They tried, but I had to ask them to clarify. Monthly maintenance fee, overdraft fee, ATM fee. So many fees to understand.
Banking vocabulary is definitely specialized. Have you had to deal with any other services recently?
Actually, yes. I had to call tech support last week because my internet wasn't working.
Oh, that can be frustrating. How did that conversation go?
First, they asked me to describe the problem. I said my internet connection keeps dropping or the Wi-Fi is unstable.
Did they make you do all those troubleshooting steps?
Of course. Have you tried turning it off and on again? It's always the first question. Then they asked me to unplug the router for 30 seconds.
The classic solutions. Did that fix it?
No, so they had to escalate the issue. They scheduled a technician to come to my apartment.
That's good. When dealing with appointments, I always confirm the date and time window.
Yes, they said between 2 and 4 p.m. on Thursday. I made sure to ask, do I need to be home during that time?
Smart question. These practical situations really test our English skills, don't they?
Absolutely. But each experience makes us more confident. The key is learning the specific vocabulary for each situation.
And not being afraid to ask for clarification. Can you repeat that please, or could you speak more slowly, or lifesavers?
Exactly. Also, I've learned to summarize what I understood. So you're saying that I need to do X, right?
That's a great technique. It prevents misunderstandings. Have you had any pharmacy experiences to share?
Oh yes. Last month I needed medicine for a cold. I didn't know the difference between prescription and over-the-counter drugs.
That's an important distinction. What did you ask for?
I described my symptoms to the pharmacist. I have a runny nose, sore throat, and a cough. They recommended some OTC medicines.
Did they explain the dosage clearly?
Yes, they said take 2 tablets every 6 hours, not to exceed 8 tablets in 24 hours. Very specific instructions.
It's crucial to understand those directions. Any side effects warnings?
They mentioned it might cause drowsiness. The phrase was do not drive or operate machinery. Very formal language.
Medical and legal language tends to be very formal. It's different from conversational English.
True. Oh, speaking of formal situations, remember when you had to call emergency services for your neighbor?
Yes, that elderly man who fell. I had to call 911. The dispatcher asked very specific questions.
What did they ask first?
What's your emergency? I said my neighbor has fallen and can't get up. He appears to be injured.
Did they ask about his condition?
Yes. Is he conscious? Is he breathing? I had to check and report back. He was conscious but in pain.
That must have been stressful. How quickly did they arrive?
Within 10 minutes. They kept me on the line until the paramedics arrived. Stay with him and keep him still, they said.
You handled that really well. Emergency situations require clear communication.
Thanks. I think the main thing is to stay calm and answer their questions directly. No need for long explanations.
Agreed. Short, clear answers are best in emergencies. Location, situation, condition. Those are the key points.
Well, hopefully our listeners won't need this vocabulary, but it's better to be prepared.
Definitely. Knowing these phrases gives you confidence when you really need it. Practice them before you need them.
Great advice. Should we quickly review some of the key phrases we talked about today?
Good idea. For medical situations, remember to describe pain clearly. Use the pain scale and specific descriptors.
For lost or stolen items, file a report and get a reference number. Cancel cards immediately.
For banking, know the difference between checking and savings accounts. Have your documents ready.
And always ask for clarification if you don't understand. There's no shame in asking someone to repeat or explain.
Perfect summary. These real-life situations might seem scary, but with the right vocabulary, you can handle them.
Thanks for sharing your experiences, Sarah. I'm sure our listeners found them helpful.
Thank you too, Mike. Remember everyone, practice these phrases when you're calm, so you're ready when you need them.
Great advice to end on. Thanks for listening to Real Life English Survival.
Join us next week when we'll talk about apartment hunting and dealing with landlords. Until then, stay safe and keep practicing.
See you next time, everyone.
Bye for now.